YouTube, it's Mose Knows Fantasy. We are back. We had a bye last week. We back at it again this week. We're going to talk about the fantasy landscape right now. Take a look at some top performers. I'm going to give you a peek inside my fantasy team, what's going on with my squad, how good we looking. And then we're going to go through our start six segment, see who we want to add to our lineup, make some adjustments to get us a dub this week in fantasy. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Sorry, Mose couldn't be here, but he doing the Mrs. Mosley thing right now. You know, they're out doing. They're enjoying Valentine's Day is what I was trying to say.
I got you.
Y'all the worst.
You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. Mose know it all. Mose know it all. I guarantee real taste, ain't no faking that at all. If you don't know, you gon' know. Mose knows, tune into the show. Not a game, nitty gritty, ready go committee. Mose should be the CEO. Too solid, too real, too 100. I'ma keep it real when you don't. Just that real gold talk. 24 karat words. San Francisco 49er fam. Realest squad on the earth. The 5 God, number 5, taking us to 6. Young killer Trey Lance. New era, new season. Mose got you covered. Go ahead and subscribe. 2022 this year. Got a whole nother vibe. Mose know it all. Mose know it all. Mose know it all. Tune in for the vibe. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. Mose knows.
Thank y'all so much for tuning into the stream. You are right here at Mose Knows. You're already on the YouTube channel. If you are not a subscriber yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Throw a like on this video, add a comment as we're going along, either on the live show or if you're watching the playback. You can hit me up on social media, Twitter and Instagram. What Mose Knows, all one word spelled out, just like you see on the screen. No more dots, no more underscores. What Mose Knows. You want to shoot me an email, what.mose.knows@gmail.com. And follow me on TikTok, Mose Knows, just how you see it spelled there. As soon as I get off live here, I'm going to be uploading my picks for the week. They ain't been good, and it's not my fault. Again, I've been saying all season, I'm picking good. The NFL is just being real disrespectful right now. But that's how you can get in touch with me outside of this YouTube channel and these shows. We're not going to waste no time. We're going to jump right in. We're going to take a look at the top performers. The NFL has been wacky, but one thing has been constant. The stars in the league are going to shine. So let's see who they are for week 6. Our top fantasy performer at the quarterback position was none other than Joe Burrow, 28 of 37, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also added 4 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown, 32.5 fantasy points this week for young Joe Burrow. Going back to New Orleans, a city where he played his college football, city where he made his name and won a national championship, came back in excellent fashion and got a dub against the Saints on the road. Our second top fantasy quarterback is going to be Matt Ryan. He had to throw the ball almost 60 times, 42 of 58, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, including a go-ahead touchdown at the end of the game to Alec Pierce to ensure they got the dub. They didn't want to risk it on a field goal. Maybe it gets blocked. Maybe the kicker missed it. Frank Reich, Matt Ryan, they went balls to the wall. They said, no, we're going for the touchdown. He was able to connect. 27.2 fantasy points this week versus that Jaguars defense. Moving over to the running backs, we are staying with the Colts. Now, I don't know if a lot of people had this young man on their team. I'm sure Jonathan Taylor owners probably had this young man, figuring that he would get some kind of volume because he's filling in for one of the best running backs in the league. And boy, did he ever. Deion Jackson, 28.1 fantasy points this week, 12 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown. and he caught all 10 of his targets. That 28.1 points, that's PPR numbers, point per reception. So he got 10 targets. He caught all 10 of them for 79 yards. He was a big reason why the Colts were able to get that win against the Jaguars. Second top fantasy running back, another new name to the list, Ramondre Stevenson. 19 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. He caught 4 of his 5 targets for 15 yards, 25.1 PPR fantasy points this week. I love seeing new faces. Again, he's not one that's going to put up 130, 140, 150 yards. He's usually used mainly in the red zone. He's their big third down, big bruising back. But again, 19 carries, 76 yards, got in the end zone twice, added some receptions. Ramondre Stevenson able to get on the top fantasy performers list. Much love and respect to him. Moving over to the wide receivers, the young man Jamar Chase also headed back to the Bayou, also headed back to a place where he won a national championship in college. He caught 7 of his 10 targets for 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I believe he also in that game had the go-ahead touchdown to ensure a Bengals victory. 32.2 PPR fantasy points this week for young Jamar Chase, king of the gritty. Our second top fantasy performer at the wide receiver position is a name who has been on this list multiple times, I believe. He's cooking so far this year. Stephon Diggs, 30.8 PPR fantasy points this week. He caught 10 of 13 targets for 148 yards and a touchdown. Helped the Buffalo Bills overcome the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. In Arrowhead, big win for the Buffalo Bills. They sit at 5-1. Again, much respect to Stephon Diggs, one of my favorite receivers in the league right now. Moving over to someone who probably has the worst gritty in the NFL that we've ever seen. Tight end Mike Gesicki, the top fantasy performing tight end for week 6. He caught 6 of his 7 targets for 69 yards, 2 touchdowns for 24.9 PPR fantasy points this week. However, it was not enough to lift his Dolphins over those Minnesota Vikings, but a good game nonetheless. He just got to stop getting in the end zone because he's not on my fantasy team, and I don't want to see him do the gritty ever again. Another top performer that has made this list multiple times, and I'm sure he's going to make this list multiple times more. Mark Andrews, tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. He caught 7 of his 11 targets, 106 yards and 1 touchdown, 23.6 PPR fantasy points for Mark Andrews. Again, not the last time we're going to see that young man on this list. Again, I've told you guys before, this has become one of my favorite segments of the top performers, finding defensive players that had outstanding games. Now, if you could tell me that you had Alex Singleton in your defensive player slot on your fantasy team, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to believe you. But maybe somebody somewhere did, especially because linebackers are really, really high value when it comes to fantasy because of tackles. And look at what Singleton was able to do. 19 solo tackles. Just like that marinade. 19 solo tackles, 2 assists. That's a total of 21 tackles. He was all over the place in this game on Monday night. 2 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hit, 1 pass defense by himself. 24 fantasy points. Shout out to the defense. I love the defensive side of the ball. Alex Singleton holding it down for his team. Unfortunately, they lost in overtime to the Los Angeles Chargers. And our top defense and special teams unit this week is going to be the Seattle Seahawks, beating a division opponent in the Arizona Cardinals. They ended with a total of 6 sacks, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles, recovering one of those for a total of 17 fantasy points this week. I believe that is the end of my slide. So we are going to come back to this screen. Okay, there we go. We are back full screen. Those are the top performers of the week. Again, love that segment. Love seeing new faces. Love seeing the guys, like I said, the stars who are going to shine. Absolutely amazing. So we will look forward to see who will be our stars next week. Let me go here. Let's move to my fantasy team. Let's take a look at what's going on. What's the apps? I'm excited about this one. I had a little moment of being able to gloat. John V was ranked number one in our league. He was sitting at the top spot. But down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Mose knows 143.96. John V 76.40. Had to hand that man his second loss of the season. I would have loved to be the first, but still, nonetheless, we got the W. Josh Allen, 26.36 points. He had a great game from Joe Burrow, again, 32.5. I was like, oh, that's a little scary. Mike Williams didn't show up. Appreciate you. I got 16.9 from Jalen Waddle. He got 16.4 from Gabe Davis. That kind of canceled out. Jerry Jeudy got me 8.4. Here's where it came in, though. The New England Patriots defense, I owe y'all a lot because y'all held Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to 9.2 points. Austin Eckler gave me 24.3. Brees Hall gave me 20.1. I think right there, that running back section, that was the difference. Everything else before, the quarterbacks, the two wide receivers, that's pretty much a wash. The difference between what Jeudy got me and what Williams got him is the difference between Allen and Burrow. So that's a wash. That's where I took it home at the running back position. And then last minute, I found out that Pat Fryermuth was out. So I needed a tight end. I said, let me go with the veteran Hunter Henry, 16.1 points. Needed that. Doubled up what his tight end did. Noah Brown gave me 11. Garrett Wilson only gave him 1.8. Brandon McManus got me 13. Greg Joseph only got him 4. And the Chargers defense got me 7, where Cleveland defense had 0. So I think just an unfortunate week for John V. He's been playing really, really well. He's drafted a really, really solid team. Joe Burrow went off. Gabe Davis went off. But his running backs didn't go off this week, which I appreciated. His flex didn't go off this week. Defense wasn't able to come through. Mike Williams wasn't able to come through. And that's how I was able to escape this week with a W. We're going to continue to look, and let's take a look here at the standings. So right now, John V drops all the way from 1 to 3. Vince is NJ red and gold. Now sits at the number 1 spot, currently at 4-2 with a total points scored, 732.82. So that's why he's at the 1 spot. Can't get right. Also 4-2, right behind him at 723 points. John V at 3 with 716. In 4th, Chain Snatchers, a.k.a. Tony, resident GM of Nothing But Niners, also at 4-2, 691 points. And then Training Day, which I believe that's fair to God, my brother, 4-2, 669 points. And then Moses in 6. So I am ahead of all of the 3-3 teams. Why? Because of those points. We're going to show you this. I'm excited about the team I drafted. I think I just got a little bit unlucky with the schedule. Because my points allowed. Listen, I'm not the one playing defense. I'm not out there with the pads on and my lid on with the blacked out visor, with my gloves and my Jordan cleats, getting in a 3-point stance, clogging the middle, stopping the run, sacking the quarterback, providing pressure. I'm not playing defense. So I can't control what the other team point. So I don't know why points allowed is here, but it's making me look like my defense is bad. My defense ain't bad, but my offense good though. You see, I got this PF column highlighted in orange, and right now Mose is leading the league in points scored. Only team in the 800s. Amen. And Vince is right behind me at 732. I'm a good 70 points ahead of him in points scored. So I'm excited about my team because that means we are scoring, we are putting points on the board. I think my lowest week, uh, let me see. What's my lowest week? I want my second team. I'm not really worried about my second team. So last week I scored 143, 90.96. The week before, 150.36. The week before, 122.42. I think that was my lowest. No, week 3 I scored 102.2. And week 2, 141.38. And then week 1, 143. So I scored 100 points every week. 143, 141, 102, 122, 150, 143. So that's of 4 of my 6 games, I scored 140 points or more. So we scoring points. I think it is a couple. I mean, the week I scored 150, I lost one. What was this score? This made me so mad. I lost by like a little bit. No, not 6. This was 5. Vince. Vince is NJ Red and Gold, the team currently in first place, which makes me upset because if I would have beat him and then beat John V, I would be in first place at 4-2, scoring the most points in the league. But it's crazy how one loss can take you from first place to 6th place. But I remember that. I remember that week because Josh Jacobs went off on the Monday night game against Kansas City. And I said, as long as he don't get 30 points, and he got 30 points, I lost 151.18 to 150.36. I didn't even lose by a full point. That one hurt. That one hurt. That one hurt against Vince. I'm not gonna lie. That one crushed me a little bit because I'm just sitting there watching that game and Jacobs is going off. And I'm like, and it was at the end of the game. I think they were losing. I'm like, stop giving him the ball, throw to somebody else. And they threw like a screen to him and then another short dump off pass. And it was like the 2 points because of PPR. Plus it was like 12 or 15 yards. And so I was like, I was hurt. I was hurt. But your boy scoring points. 803.80. We doing good in the point scoring. Now we just got to make sure that the other team just don't get hot and score more points than us. I mean, it's really luck of the draw. There's nothing you can do about it. Like I said, I'm not playing defense, so I don't know why they got points allowed. But I understand it. It is what it is. Okay, moving into this next week. Let me do some things on my back end just to make sure we straight. Give y'all what I want to give y'all. Okay. So then let's come over here. Do this. Do this. We're not ready for that yet. All right. Okay. First, let me take a look at the comments. We only got 4. We got Dion in the building. What's good? Nice to see another Dion out there. I need a running back this week. Who would be a good pickup? And then, so Dion says he needs a running back this week. And shout out to my boy Big Dez. What's up with y'all? Thank y'all for tuning in. Okay, let me go back to my banners and brands. Moving into week 7. Bye week started last week. Who was on bye last week? Tennessee, Detroit. Who was on bye last week? Tennessee, Detroit, 2 other teams. Nobody really you got to worry about. Nobody really got to worry about. This week, though, look at the 4 teams that's on a bye. Buffalo, Minnesota, Philly, the Rams. The worst record on this screen is 3-3. Eagles are 6-0. Bills and Vikings are both 5-1. Let's just take a look at the players. Let me get this off the screen. Let's just take a look at the players. Yo, there are 10 players in the top 50, 4 in the top 5 of fantasy rankings that are on a bye this week. Josh Allen is 1, Stephon Diggs is 2, Cooper Kupp is 3, Jalen Hurts is 4. Then look at Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, AJ Brown, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Smith. These are 10 of 10 players that are in the top 50 of fantasy points. I don't know if the NFL did this purposely or if this is just how it swung together, but a lot of fantasy owners and the fantasy teams are going to be hurting this week because this is a lot of points off the board. Josh Allen is number one amongst all fantasy players, averaging 28.8. I have him on my team. Appreciate you, Josh. With total fantasy points of 172.9. It makes sense that Stephon Diggs is number 2, averaging 25.1, 150.6 total. You know Cooper Kupp gonna get his. I think a lot of people are surprised that Jalen Hurts is at number 5. I'm not, because he has good weapons. You see 3 of his weapons are on this list. AJ Brown, Miles Sanders. AJ Brown at 29, Miles Sanders at 39, Devontae Smith at 46. All of those guys averaging 14 points or more. Not surprised that 4 Philly players are on here. So and then look at other notable players. Dallas Goedert, a very, very serviceable tight end in this league. Adam Thielen, great wide receiver, number 2 or flex wide receiver. Matthew Stafford hasn't been great this year, but he got Cooper Kupp. He's got Allen Robinson, another notable name on this list. So he can go off at any moment. And then even look at the defense and special teams unit. The Bills are ranked 1 in fantasy right now. The Eagles are ranked number 2. I mean, not number 2, excuse me, number 4 in fantasy. So this week, you could be losing some really, really important pieces. Take me, for example. My first team, I got to find a replacement for Josh Allen. What is I'm going to do? My other team, I got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And I think I got Bills defense. So there's some things we got to take a look at, because we got to figure out how are we going to supplement this loss of points and be competitive and still try to get a win in week 7. So let's take a look. Quarterbacks. We can move this off the screen right now. Quarterbacks. The cupboards are bare, folks. The cupboards are bare. Unless you make a trade, the cupboards are bare when it comes to quarterbacks. Now, the 2 quarterbacks that I put the most thought into as of right now are Ryan Tannehill and Jared Goff. I'm standing on Ryan Tannehill because I'm starting Ryan Tannehill because he was the best option available for me in my league. And I think he has a potential, coming off a bye, being well rested, has a potential to have a decent game against an Indianapolis Colts defense. So I went with Tannehill. Another name I'm floating out there for quarterback is Jared Goff. And not that he's going to have a dynamite game, because he's going to have a good game. I think Dallas' defense is pretty good. However, I do believe he's going to be down. They're going to be trailing. I think he gets Amon-Ra St. Brown back. So I think he's going to have to pass a lot, in the same way that he and Geno Smith were on the top fantasy performers, because both of them were going back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a back and forth game. I think he's just going to have to throw a lot, which means a lot of yards, maybe a few touchdowns. You might lose a few points. Maybe he throws an interception or 2. But if you need a quarterback that could just give you volume and give you points, I would go Tannehill against Indy or Jared Goff versus Dallas, just because he's going to be down. Dion asked about running backs. Let's move into running backs. Again, back to this Cowboys and Lions game. Lions defense, as much as they fight, and as much as of a culture as new head coach Dan Campbell is trying to instill, sometimes they cannot stop a nosebleed. So I like Elliott and or Pollard versus Detroit. They use a running back by committee approach. Dak is going to be back in this game. So I think they run the ball a lot. They check the ball down a lot so that, Dak doesn't have to throw too much. He's trying to get back into game shape, trying to test the hand out and everything and make sure it's good. So I see a lot of volume for Elliott and Pollard in this game against Detroit. I think they get up early, allow the defense to play well. You can see Elliott, Pollard, uh, goal line situations, getting easy touchdowns, getting easy yards, and getting some PPR with catching some screens, catching some passes in the flat, just to get Dak in a rhythm. Also, I like Miami's running backs, Chase Edmonds or Raheem Mostert versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is very, very up and down. Even with the win over the Buccaneers, Leonard Fournette was able to have a pretty decent game. Miami has to find a way to get back on the winning side. Once Tua went down, things haven't looked as explosive as they used to earlier in this season. So I can see the running backs getting some volume against Pittsburgh. And then I like James Robinson versus the Giants. I feel like one of the things that Jacksonville is going to have to do is they are going to have to keep the ball out of the Giants' hands. They're going to have to keep it away from Daniel Jones, keep it away from Saquon Barkley. I think they're going to utilize ETN as they do in the passing game and the screen game. But if Jacksonville is able to play good defense, get some good short yardage situation, maybe get some goal line situations, I can see James Robinson having a fairly decent game against the New York Giants. So those are 3 to 5 backs that I like: Elliott or Pollard, Edmonds or Mostert, and James Robinson. Moving over to wide receivers. This first one I'm a little torn about. But the Kansas City Chiefs go to Santa Clara to play the 49ers. I like Juju. I think Juju has been getting acclimated more in this offense, and particularly right now with the 49ers secondary not as healthy or as strong as it could possibly be. Um, if Mooney Ward plays, maybe he follows Juju, or maybe he stays to one side. I know last week, week 6, they had him following Drake London. So we'll have to see what happens. But Juju moves everywhere. He plays X, he plays the Y, he plays the Z. That's both outside positions and the slot. So he moves over. He moves a lot of places. He's back home. California kid, went to USC. So I could see Juju having a fairly decent game versus the 49ers. If our defense plays anything like we did in Atlanta, and if our corners are banged up like they all have been, I can see Juju having possibly a really good game. Garrett Wilson versus the Denver Broncos. I like Denver's secondary, but I think outside of Pat Surtain the second, everybody else could get exposed. And I think the Chargers put a lot on tape against rookie Damari Mathis. He had a few penalties in that game. I'm sure he wants to bounce back, but that could also mean that he's pressing a little bit. So I think you put Surtain versus Corey Davis, and then I think you have rookie on rookie Mathis versus Wilson. And I think Garrett Wilson can get the better out of Damari Mathis in that matchup. So if you need a wide receiver, again, no Diggs, no Cup, no Jefferson, no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith, no Adam Thielen, no Allen Robinson. Somebody need receivers. So Garrett Wilson could be a good add this week. I actually like Robbie Anderson versus New Orleans. Here's why I like Robbie Anderson versus New Orleans. Yes, he's in a new system. Yes, he's coming to a new team. However, he's familiar with New Orleans because he's played in Carolina the past few years. So he's familiar with their scheme, with their offense. I'm sure a lot of what Carolina was implementing this year was to win in their division. So I'm sure he's going to bring some of that knowledge and information over to Arizona. You might want to, if you're looking at Robbie Anderson, if you're thinking about it, you might want to do it now because I think the game starts in like either now or in like 10, 15 minutes. But I think Robbie Anderson this week versus New Orleans is a big get. Also because DeAndre Hopkins is coming back. So I think teams are going to focus on Hop, or New Orleans going to focus on Hop, leaving Robbie with some one-on-one opportunities. And New Orleans has tape on Robbie in Carolina, but they don't have tape on Robbie in Arizona. So hopefully Cliff Kingsbury will be able to scheme something up. So again, if you need a wide receiver in your flex, I wouldn't mind trying Robbie Anderson this week. And then lastly, at the wide receiver position, Darnell Mooney versus Washington. Washington looks like they are in a crisis mode right now. Head coach spazzing out. Carson Wentz, who they brought over, injured. Taylor Heineke is going to be the quarterback. Sure, that may bring a spark offensively. And this one is tough because Chicago's offense has not been as good as they should be or people have thought they would be. Justin Fields does not look like he's having a really, really good season so far. Maybe it's a sophomore slump. Maybe it has to do with the offense that's been put in place there. But I think this week, wait, or is that no? I'm sorry, must have been looking at something else. Mooney doesn't play. That was last week. What am I talking about? Hold on, y'all. That's a mistake on my end. Mooney doesn't play. I was like, that seems too familiar. That was the Thursday night game last week. That was atrocious. I don't even have Mooney on my squad this week. What was I looking at? That's my bad, y'all. Oh, Mooney got Monday night versus New England. Mooney got Monday night versus New England. Trying to figure out how I want to clean this up. Do I want to keep Mooney versus New England? No. No. Because what did he put up against Washington? He put up 13.8 against Washington. So I was right. I was right about Mooney versus Washington. I'm just a week too late. But we know what Bill Belichick and his defense does to young quarterbacks. I think he's going to confuse Justin Fields. I think he's going to find a way to limit him and make him look as pedestrian as possible. So as much as I want to clean it up, yeah, again, I was right about Mooney versus Washington, just a week too late. Scrap Darnell Mooney because he's got Monday night versus the Patriots, and I don't think that's a good look. So Juju Smith-Schuster, Garrett Wilson, Robbie Anderson, if you need a wide receiver. Tight ends, if he's still available, I picked up Hunter Henry, and he did me love, like I showed you guys. Let's switch this to tight ends. Let's see. Dalton Schultz is coming back. Greg Dulcich from Denver looks like he's carving out a role for himself. Mo Alley Cox has been up and down. So yeah, if you can snag a Hunter Henry off the waiver wire, that might be a good look. Again, Isaiah Likely for Baltimore, up and down, but against Cleveland, that might be something. And then Donald Parham from the Chargers, he's back, he's healthy. He looks like he's getting utilized a little bit more. But I try to find Hunter Henry. It's really a crapshoot at tight ends this year. And then again, if you got to find a defense to substitute for Bills or Philly, Tennessee versus Indy, I think that could be a good look. Vegas Raiders versus Houston could be another good look. That's it. I don't trust anybody else. I don't trust Chicago versus New England. I don't trust Atlanta versus Cincy. Yeah, give me Tennessee or the Raiders. If you needed to sub a defense, I think though that would be your best bet to at least try to put some points on the board. And then it also too will depend on who's available in your league. Let me check my other league, see what defense and special teams units are available. Miami versus Pittsburgh, that could be another good get. Um, Cincinnati versus Atlanta. Yeah, okay. Miami versus Pittsburgh, definitely. Um, if somehow they're on the waiver wire, they play Sunday night at 8. Miami, Tennessee, or Vegas, if you need a defense this week. Again, not really going to go over anybody to sit because just looking at, especially this week, again, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Cup, Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard, Adam Thielen, Matthew Stafford, Allen Robinson, Bills defense, Eagles defense. It, y'all don't need to be worried about sitting nobody else. It's too many points that's coming off the board this week. Fantasy owners may be a little upset. So we're just finding players to replace for the bye teams. And I think going forward, that's how we'll run it. We'll see what teams are on the bye, who are the top performers from those teams that we need to find replacements for, and then making the best educated guess that we can to figure out who we want to sub just for 1 week until we get our guys back. Shout out to the Bro Lake City Freshman. Appreciate you so much for tuning in. That's going to do it. That's going to wrap up this show this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love and appreciate everybody who stopped by. Love and appreciate everybody who will watch this in post. Again, fantasy advice. If you need to reach Mose for anything, one, you can add a comment on this video. I'll be looking at the comments throughout the weekend. I will reply directly to you with my thoughts and opinions. You can hit me up on social media, Twitter and IG, What Mose Knows. You can hit me on TikTok. You can send me an email. However you want to get to me to ask me questions about your fantasy team. If you're not sure, if you're on the fence about something, you just want to hear my thoughts. First of all, I appreciate you even reaching out to me to get my thoughts. But those are the ways that you can get in touch with me, and I will help you out as best as I can because it's all about getting that W. Love and appreciate all y'all, and I'll catch y'all next week. Peace.